So people, they're not going to call us to tell us that they were having a problem adding a product to the cart, not seeing an image. Nobody's going to call customer support to let us know those things. And that's where really we wanted to get further into the details to provide a better experience.
Our episode today is with a longtime customer, Nathan from Pampered Chef. We're really excited to have him on the show. He talks a bit about his Noibu journey. When we first started working with them, we were a very niche solution for them, and we've expanded over time. As we know, a lot of businesses are under pressure to cut costs, consolidate tools. So that's really where our strategy helped him lean into his corporate initiatives. So super excited for the podcast today. Welcome to another episode of the e-commerce toolbox experts perspective. Joining us today, we have Nathan Armstrong from Pampered Chef. Welcome, Nathan.
Thanks, Callan. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Nathan, why don't you start with a quick introduction, who you are, a bit about Pampered Chef and what you oversee?
Sure. So I lead Director of Global Customer Solutions and EU Technology. So I live in kind of two worlds. One, our customer experience, tech support side of the house, as well as leading our technology strategy for our EU markets.
Very cool. We got hooked up during the COVID era, so probably 2021-ish era. So talk to me a bit about what the needs were of Pampered Chef when you started initially working with Noibu.
Yeah, so it's been a while now. And yeah, as you stated, when we initially came to Noibu, we were looking to become more proactive at identifying issues that customers were having going through our funnels on the site that we were unaware of. So people that they're not going to call us to tell us that they were having a problem adding a product to the cart, not seeing an image. Nobody's going to call customer support to let us know those things. And that's where really we wanted to get further into the details to provide a better experience to the customers and solve those problems in advance. So that's where we started looking out and came to Noibu. And yeah, we started in just post-COVID in there in the 2021 time period.
Very cool. And at that time, like you mentioned, people were very invested in buying point solutions. They were trying to solve very specific problems because growth was infinite. But kind of as actually Berkshire Hathaway's Warren Buffett would say, the tide came out after and a lot of things started to kind of maybe change. Consumer demand softened in the market in 2022, 2023. How did that lead to maybe a change in how you guys are looking at procuring software, an evolution in what your needs were?
So I think a lot of organizations that are out there we're always trying to act like owners. So money that we spend, treat it like it's our dollar and continuously improve, continue to challenge vendors to do more, provide more. And that's really where not just with our relationship, but any of our partners that we're constantly looking at, is this solution still providing the same value that it was when we initially bought it? Or are there now other tools and other partnerships that we have to where we can consolidate those pieces? I think that's just the natural evolution inside of the technology space. People are going to start with one area and be super successful with that partner to start with. And then things are going to evolve and we're going to mature and look at ways to consolidate those platforms to leverage that spend.
Yeah, and just getting a bit more specific as well, like initially when you guys bought us, it was like, we want to solve two main problems. Number one, we have customers calling in and we don't know what they're talking about. They're talking about errors, this, that. Like, let's solve that problem with like session replay effectively. And then number two was like, hey, we want to understand where we might be behind the ball and maybe people are calling or they aren't calling, but there's like these heavy hitter bugs that are like hiding somewhere in plain sight that are hurting our business KPIs. So those are like kind of the initial two use cases. Well, then from there, early on, you had actually engaged us in like, hey, we have this heat mapping tool that our product managers are using for user research. So that was kind of a third use case we couldn't support at the time. Obviously, since then, we've launched our page analysis, which is our heat mapping, our scroll mapping, and our journeys. And now the product team's using that. Okay, that's great. We then got heavily into release management. So, hey, as you're doing releases, how do you understand if there's regression? And then we also added in performance. So understanding how your core vitals are changing over time. So when we start to look at all these things, it was very like, hey, we looked at Noibu for a very niche use case. And then we started to see that different needs were popping up in the business. that we wanted to consolidate from other vendors. So that's kind of the journey that we've gone on as well. And obviously, you guys are still on your technology transformation journey. But for us, it was really important for us to meet you where you guys were going in terms of multiple use cases, multiple teams collaborating out of a single tool. On that note, how are you guys starting to think about like how AI might start to change how you look at tooling or how you look at workflows?
Yeah, I mean, AI obviously continued buzzword even as we're now into 2026. I think really the pieces that we're looking at for it is what are the journeys, what are the tasks both from an internal business operations perspective and external operations where AI makes sense. So externally, it may be a chatbot. How do you simplify your customer's experience on your site, getting post-purchase help or getting pre-purchase help, asking questions about a product, specific specifications in there. So that's one journey that we're looking at. And then two, for internal tools that we use, we want the tools to be almost, I guess, chat GPT-esque to where I can ask the tool questions. I don't have to go hunt and peck to find the data that I'm looking for. It understands the query that I'm giving it and bubbling up that information for me, whether it's date and time driven, it's on specific order flows that we're talking about, those different pieces in there. That's really where we're looking to also bring AI in to help simplify all of our jobs. It's not about replacing headcount or anything like that. It's about making our jobs easier and allowing us to find that needle in a haystack data point that us as humans potentially can't get to super easy by diving through all that data, but AI can help us get there.
Makes sense. On the back of that, what we're seeing is that data structure. So data capture is one thing, and most people have the data, but data structuring in a queryable way is really challenging with like data governance. How are you starting to think about that out of curiosity? And I'll talk a bit about how we are. And maybe there's some products actually that you haven't seen yet, because I don't think when you're at our last customer advisory board, I don't think we had the mock-ups yet. But yeah, I'm curious how you guys are thinking on the data side, because candidly, everyone's using the same foundational models. Claude this, open source that, no one's reinventing the LLM wheel. And if someone's telling you that, then they're straight up lying, in my opinion, or they're naive. And it's really a data structuring problem. But yeah, curious how you guys are approaching that.
Yeah, totally agree. It is that data structure, it is that data governance that we're really looking at. We've gone starting down the initial journey, part through some of our partnerships with AWS in there, of really understanding how the data that we're connecting into, are we putting guardrails around that data so that whether it's an internal user or external services that are in there, we're keeping those queries segmented based on the user's permissions, and their AWS offers AWS guardrails that's part of their AI platform that's in there that allows us to keep that data governance in place. And then the other pieces that are there as well of, instead of looking at it from a technology solution perspective first and foremost, we're trying to understand what are the business questions that we're trying to answer to help guide us into more of that data governance piece, that data structure piece. So what data do I need right now? What problem do I need to solve right now versus trying to boil the ocean and say, hey, all of our data is not structured in a way that's going to make us successful for AI in there, and instead have it be more point solution to start with to learn and continue to grow and evolve from there.
If you're listening to the e-commerce toolbox, you're entitled to a podcast exclusive website audit. Go to noibu.com/podcast-audit for a free scan that uncovers the hidden friction blocking your conversions and shows you where you're leaking revenue.
What part of the data flow are you most interested in solving first, out of curiosity?
I think the big piece for us is simplifying some of the basic business questions that our internal teams have, and how do we make it easier for them to self-serve? I think a lot of times we talk about self-service in there, but self-service still means that I've got to build a business case. I've got to send it to a tech team to go and build those pieces out. Instead, we see the AI tooling being able to help the business just have access to the data that they need and get answers to those structured questions without having to build specific use cases for every single thing that they're trying to get information on.
Yeah, I think we even see that in our business as well. Like if you're, for example, let's say you have an analyst, it's like, hey, what are my top performing products selling in Florida? Like before you would take that, you'd send it to an analyst. They'd probably have to pull data from multiple sources, put it in Excel, clean the data, run it, and then you have that at a point in time. And if you want to check it again tomorrow, you have to redo that work. I think like AI is really, really good at that.
Yeah. And for us, I mean, so Pampered Chef, being a direct sales company, we have consultants spread across the globe. So being able to get easy access to, hey, who are my top 10 performers today, last month, this year, and what makes them a top 10 performer, being able to ask those simple business questions and get feedback real time versus taking hours or days is super key for us.
No, that's really, really cool. As you're looking, budgets aren't getting looser for most of our businesses. Expectation for SaaS providers are increasing, especially with your AI story. What are kind of some of your top themes for this year or when you're doing your budget for this year?
It's always do more with less, or show me the value that you're able to deliver with the same dollars, or a higher amount of value that you're able to deliver with dollars. Nobody's ever willing to just open up the pocketbook and continue to dish out dollars unless you're giving value back there. So we are continuing down the similar paths to understand what are our vendors doing, what are differently this year or in the subsequent years that match up with some of our journey pieces as we talk about AI. What are you doing to simplify the experience? What are the new pieces that you're getting into that help us better problem solve conversion problems, increase cart sizes, limit the amount of tools that we have? So if I can do the same thing inside of the one tool and get 80% of the features and functionality that I had from a different tool, I'm going to play the 80-20 rule all day long and go down that route to save a few dollars and deliver that same value to be able to then focus my time in other areas.
That's literally what I'm consistently hearing. So no, that's such a good framing. Nate, this was great to catch up. Really appreciate you hopping on and talking through your journey with us and kind of how your use cases are evolved. And I'm excited to show you what we're working on the AI side as well, because I think a lot of what's in your head is kind of what's in ours. So I appreciate you hopping on and being such a great partner.
Yeah, awesome, Kellen. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
The e-commerce toolbox Expert Perspectives is brought to you by Noibu. To find out more about Noibu and how we can help you debug your e-commerce site and rocket your revenue, visit www.noibu.com. That's Noibu.com. And then make sure to search for the e-commerce toolbox Expert Perspectives on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and click subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Noibu, thanks for listening.